Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
The Beef Checkoff funded Beef Quality Assurance Program works to educate producers on good production practices and to build consumer confidence in the beef we produce. We'll hear what some leading voices in the beef industry have to say about the importance of this program.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kate Maher. If you're in the cattle business, caring for your animals is always your top priority. And one outstanding resource to help with this is the Beef Quality Assurance, or BQA program. BQA is a nationally coordinated program that provides education and guidelines for cattle care and beef cattle production. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the BQA program with a great group of producers and industry insiders from across the country. First is Dr. Trey Patterson. He's the CEO and president for Padlock Ranch Company, which maintains cow-calf and yearling enterprises in Montana and Wyoming. Also joining us is Kim Brackett. Kim and her family own and operate a cow-calf and stocker operation in Idaho. We also welcome Tanner Pickett. He's the general manager for Five Rivers Cuner Yard, located right here in Colorado. Thank you all for being with us today. Dr. Patterson, I'd like to start with you. What is the importance of the BQA program to the beef industry?
You know, it is amazing how powerful our industry is and how leaders in our industry over time have been able to invoke change. And so over 30 years ago, our industry identified some shortcomings, some quality defects that we needed to address. BQA emerged out of some of the realization of that and it was built around a grassroots, science-based process, voluntary and educational in nature. And we corrected those defects. It's been amazing how successful that is. And now we find ourselves in a position where beef quality assurance is interfacing with our consumers who want to know how their food is raised, where it's raised, and so on. So BQA I think is very, very important and has a long track record of success in our industry.
So Trey mentioned that the program was developed to address some specific concerns in beef production practices. Tanner, how has the BQA program and practices impacted you day to day in your feed yards?
So the BQA program has assisted us day to day by basically improving all of our operations. Those animals are with us for a portion of their time. It's our responsibility to make sure that the life and the safety of that animal is upheld. And the BQA program gives us training guides and materials to make sure that every employee that comes on our facility is held to the same standard and that those animals are cared for from the day they get off the truck to the day they leave for the plant.
And Kim, in Idaho, how has BQA impacted you day to day on your cow-calf operation?
I think one of the biggest impacts that BQA's had for us is it's really changed our mindset. We have a real focus on understanding that the decisions we make at the ranch level impact the quality of the product that we're providing to consumers down the line. It's given us a little more insight into how our cattle move. So I think that's the biggest change, mindset change in looking at things from the cattle's perspective and understanding that our decisions impact the quality of our product.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the term mindset. And so have you noticed then that people outside the beef industry are really taking an interest in that mindset of animal welfare?
Oh, absolutely. I think, we're all well aware of the rural-urban divide that we're facing in this country. And one of the consequences of that is folks not understanding where their food comes from, how it's raised. It leads to a lot of questions, misperceptions, I would say, about our industry. As a matter of fact, I was reading some market research just a couple weeks ago, and they asked them an unprompted question: what's your biggest concern about beef and the beef industry? And the number one response was animal welfare. So if we can talk to those consumers and let them know that we do place a high priority on animal care and animal well-being to the point that we've created this BQA program, I think that answers a lot of their questions and can alleviate a lot of their concerns.
So in addition to addressing the animal welfare concerns that consumers have, we're also producing, through BQA practices, a really high quality product for them as well. Trey?
You know, we want beef to be at the center of the plate for our consumers. And we want them to feel confident about it, and they need to have a good eating experience every time. And we play a role in that all the way through the industry, from those of us from seed stock operations, through the cow-calf sector, through the yearling backgrounding sector, and then the finishing sector. We all have our part to do to ensure that. And to me, I think it's about the little processes that sometimes might be easy to overlook. We're paying attention. We're being intentional about management. And I think in our operation, we're looking at it on an animal basis. And there may be a lot of animals in a group, but let's care individually about how we treat each individual animal and the way they're handled and the way their health is administered, so on and so forth. I think that becomes really, really important, that we're doing the little things the right way all the time, because those are cumulative, they add up.
Yeah, what is it? We always say BQA, the right way is the only way. Is that what it is? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your insights. We look forward to talking with you more. Each year, a variety of cattle businesses and individuals are honored for their commitment to the principles of the BQA program. These award winners go above and beyond to provide consumers with confidence that what they're buying is a wholesome, high-quality product when they choose beef. Here's a look at the 2021 cow-calf winner from Florida.
The Florida cowboy is quite a bit different than the Western cowboy. We all do the same job, but it's just a totally different environment. A little bit harsher environment for cattle, and it takes a different breed of person to want to do that job.
Deseret Cattle and Citrus, we run 45,000 cows on 300,000 acres in Central Florida, just east of Orlando. Really, BQA and our animal handling practices and standard operating procedures provide a framework that we can teach. We can really reward people for doing the right things, and it allows us to be able to have a standard so that we can say, okay, this is what it really looks like, and that ultimately is something for us that's very important, that we're transparent to our customer, whether that be another ranch that we're sending the animals to our feed yard, and ultimately to the plate of the consumer. We want them to be able to look back into the history of that product and know that that animal was humanely treated, that we followed the BQA guidelines, and that we were doing the right things every step of the chain.
Kim, we just saw some great examples of an operation that's really utilizing BQA practices well. What are some other ways the BQA program impacts cow-calf production?
Well, I guess I would say that all the modules of BQA really impact cow-calf production, but to just pick a few, I would probably talk about vaccine administration, vaccine storage. We precondition our calves and we bring in a lot of stocker cattle. So if I'm putting, let's say, 3 shots into these calves when they're coming through, I've got 10, 12 bucks a head into each of those calves. So I need to make sure I'm doing everything I can to maintain the efficacy of those vaccines. So it's about making sure I'm using the right gauge needle with the vaccine I'm using. It's changing that needle frequently. It's watching the temperature storage of where I have that vaccine. These may seem like really simple things, but honestly, I find that this is something we train on frequently with the new hires on our operation.
Sometimes it really does come down to the simple things, doesn't it, Trey?
I think it really does. I like to say sometimes that, if you're not learning in our business, you're not really paying attention. So we're always learning and getting better. But one thing that the BQA programming offers us is updated new information. We're always updating the material, looking at new technologies, new approaches to doing things, looking at the latest research. And so that training aspect and the retraining that we go through allows us to stay up to date on that and continue to learn and get better. And I think about antibiotic stewardship, for instance, and that's become a hot topic in recent years. We have learned so much about that, and how can we safely and efficaciously administer antibiotics for the welfare of the animal, but then at the same time protect our environment, from antibiotic resistance and those type of things. So we're watching that material all the time and trying to learn and get better and just be good stewards of what we're doing and retraining our people as we go.
Yeah. Tanner, you see a lot of cattle come in from all across the U.S. to your yard. Can you see a difference in performance of cattle that are coming from a BQA certified herd or a BQA program and people that are doing these simple things right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very apparent. when animals that come from facilities who embrace these best management practices from BQA, when those animals step off the truck, you can tell that they have the foundation, that they're on the right foot. And when they come onto our facility, they're comfortable, they've been handled properly, they had a low stress transportation, and they go right to the pen, they get up on feed and water. And all that preventative maintenance that they talked about is the best medicine.
And then Tanner, you and your employees pick right up on those BQA practices for the cattle that are in your care during their time at your yard, correct?
Absolutely. So every employee on our facility is BQA trained. That's an annual process we go through. We stay current on materials. We work closely with our state coordinator. All our custom processing crew that's on site is also BQA trained. And so from the time they step off the truck, they go through our processing facility, all those best practices we implement at a feed yard.
So it really works up and down the supply chain, setting those animals up for success. You know, I know there's a lot of pieces and parts to these trainings and the program, but it doesn't really have to be complicated in making big changes on your farm or ranch, correct? To be BQA certified, to implement BQA practices.
It's really not. This is about being intentional about quality management. And I think about it in our operation as it's just an upscale management. We're just being very intentional about the details and documenting it. And you know, as a leader in a business, if you are intentional about articulating your expectations and training people to be able to accomplish that, it's amazing the results that you get. You get people on board, and I think it results in just better overall management. And so we've talked about the consumer a lot, and I think that is so important. I hope we get to talk about that some more. But it's also just about being really good at what we do and being able to document it and share with others what we're doing. If we're marketing cattle, for instance, we can share that with the next level in the production chain. And so no, in our operation, it's not major changes. It's just getting better at the little things that we're already doing and making sure that people understand that we're doing it.
And that we really already do so well, right, Kim? I mean, a lot of these places, producers do things so well. It's just getting down into the, you know, tweaks here and there, the fine tune.
Absolutely. I think that's really what it is. It's fine-tuning. I think all producers, their main priority is the care of their animals. So this is just helping them up their game a little bit, I would say. I would follow up a little bit on what Trey said about documenting. I think record keeping might be one of the biggest changes at the cow-calf level. That seems to be a stumbling block for a lot of cow-calf producers. But I think we're seeing now that there's a lot of value in keeping that data. So I'm hoping that obstacle will start to minimize a little bit, and we'll see more cow-calf level producers getting a more robust record-keeping system.
Yeah, and Tana, that data information's got to mean something to you guys at the feed yard then too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The more data that a producer can share with an end user or their marketing partners, obviously the more profitability they're going to see to their bottom line.
Yeah, this has all been great. Thank you all so much. Look forward to talking to you later in the show. We're really just scratching the surface on the value of the Beef Checkoff funded Beef Quality Assurance Program. Coming up, we'll examine the positive impact BQA certification can have on feed yards. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Weeds will rob me of my investments. The weeds are not palatable to cows. They will not eat them, or if they do eat them, some of them may be toxic. So there's a return on investment by allowing there to be more grass available to be grazed by the cattle.
Hi everybody, I'm Tom Elliott with John Deere.
Welcome back. Today we're highlighting the Beef Quality Assurance Program and also looking at some operations and individuals who were honored for their commitment to the principles of the program. Let's meet the feed yard winner, Imperial Valley in California.
The first commercial feed yard in the United States was in Imperial County. Because of our nice weather, we get very low rainfall, so it was an ideal place to start out feeding cattle.
2012, we had in this county 385,000 head on feed, which made us #1. And right now, currently in 2020, we have about 460,000 we grew and still growing. That will hopefully keep us there today.
In the state of California, the packing houses that we've done programs with have all insisted that everybody have been a part of our BQA program.
Because consumers or retailers or restaurants have asked packers, we got to do what's best for the livestock. They want to eat something that they feel safe about and they feel good in their heart about putting on their plate and sharing with their family. Same concerns us as cattle feeders have. We need BQA because this is another way where we listen to our consumers and what makes them feel comfortable that they will not hesitate to keep choosing beef as the main item they put on the plate.
And joining me once again is our great panel of beef producers. Trey, when we talk about setting cattle up for success in their journey along the supply chain, how does BQA help those cattle and producers make that happen?
You know, I think beef quality assurance tells us that we're concerned about the whole process, through the animal's life all the way to the final product, and ultimately we care about the consumer. And so we have to be thinking across the sectors of our industry and making sure that we're transitioning cattle well between those sectors. Now, many operations come off of a ranch or a ranch-based background, and we realize when those cattle go to the feedlot that their life is fixing to change some. There's going to be some new things thrown at them. There's going to be more intensity of human interaction and facilities and so on than maybe they've had at the ranch level. So I think it's really important that we use the BQA principles to try to set that next sector up for success, because if we can all win through the process, then I think the outcome for the industry is really positive. And so things like making sure cattle are ready to go on feed, that they're healthy, that we're shipping cattle that are merchantable, that are gonna do well at the next sector at the feedlot level, I think is really, really important. And it always circles back. It always circles back to if that customer is gonna buy your cattle again, or if that feedlot wants to feed your cattle again. That's really, really important that we do that and that we be thinking beyond where we're at today into the further sectors of our industry.
Kim, you run stocker cattle too. Any thoughts to add to Trey as far as a stocker perspective goes?
You know, I think Trey really hit it on the head there. Some of the things we do from a stocker perspective is preconditioning. That's really important for us. Making sure we bring all those cattle in and getting them adapted to where we're at. They need same type of thing. They're in a new situation. They need to learn our routine, right? They need to learn what goes on at our place. We spend a lot of time feeding them in feed bunks, getting them used to our water trough system for the same reason. We want them to do well when we ship them to the feedlot. We want to have repeat customers for our cattle.
So Tanner, all these things then probably mean a lot to you at the feed yard when cattle are coming into a whole new situation. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Everything they mentioned here is what we stress every day and what we really want from our customers. Because no matter how hard we try, every time you ship cattle and you load them on a truck and transfer them to the next step in the supply chain is stressful on those animals. And so when they come into a feed yard with upwards of 100,000 head on feed, you know, they're in a whole new environment. They've transferred across multiple states, and when they arrive, if they've had all the proper foundation, you know, those cattle get off the truck on the right foot for us.
Trey mentioned that some of this helps him market his cattle and want to be the repeat seller to somebody like a customer. Can BQA program cattle get more, bring more?
Absolutely. Even though it's not always talked about in the negotiation, when you partner with ranches such as Trey's and those cattle arrive at your facility and you have a good experience, those cattle come off the truck, they go on feed, they're more efficient, they perform well, it helps our bottom line. And when that happens, you want to have a repeat customer like that, and you want to partner with people who are doing the right thing so it works out for all of us. We all operate on such small margins in this industry that it's important to work together.
So it can really help you market your calves.
Yeah, marketing's really important, and I think BQA helps us in that process. I think a lot about if I were selling a used vehicle and you had a buyer that had an opportunity to buy 2 used pickups, and they had the same mileage on them, and outwardly they looked to be the same. Which vehicle would they buy and which would they pay more for? And so if I happen to be selling the vehicle that I've got the records to show that we have had upkeep and routine maintenance and cared for that vehicle through its life, I think I'm going to be able to sell it before the other vehicle, number one, and two, we should be able to get a little higher price for it because we've got the documentation to show that this has been cared for. So I think about it that way from the marketing standpoint, is how do we position ourselves to be the desired source for these cattle. I think that's really important, and BQA is one of the tools to help us do that.
Yeah. So, Kim, there's lots of great reasons to become BQA certified, including monetary. What's your message to producers who haven't been BQA certified yet?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the whole point of BQA is that we're increasing the quality, right? We're all focused on increased quality. So the way market fundamentals work, just like Trey explained, if I'm creating a higher quality product, it's going to increase my profitability. There was actually a study done by Colorado State that they tracked when BQA was listed in lot descriptions on video auctions and found that there is a premium. There is, for us cow-calf producers, you do get a premium for having that BQA certification. So I would just encourage folks to go out and get your certification. It's the right thing to do. Don't forget about those consumers. They really want to know how these animals are raised. And being able to address those questions and having a more robust number of producers who are certified in BQA really helps, I think, our customers and the supply chain beyond us be able to get a higher price for their product, which is going to increase profitability throughout the chain.
So many great reasons. Thank you all so much for your time here today. To learn more about the Beef Quality Assurance Program, including information on how you can get certified at no cost to you, visit the website, bqa.org. Still ahead, we'll discuss some of the ways you can get valuable hands-on training to improve cattle handling. Don't go away. We'll have more right after this.
Stressors that trigger bovine respiratory disease are all around. So when you spot BRD in your herd, turn to Zuprevo, the fast that lasts. Zuprevo is rapidly absorbed in as little as 45 minutes and lasts up to 28 days. Because in the race against BRD, you need to win. Ready, set, Zuprevo. In case of human injection, seek immediate medical advice. For use in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle only. For prescribing information, talk to your veterinarian or visit Zuprevo.com.
Welcome back. Today we're highlighting the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the operations and individuals who were honored this year for their commitment to the principles of the program. Here's a look at Dr. Steve Boyles, an Ohio State University Extension beef specialist and the winner of the 2021 BQA Educator Award.
My dad ran a research facility for Ohio State in southeast Ohio, so I grew up there with cattle and hogs and sheep. I enjoyed working with my parents on the farm. I've been blessed to be in the cattle business because I do like cattle. They're some of my best friends. I'm OSU Extension Beef Cattle Specialist. I enjoy interacting with the students. They have the inquisitive minds. They ask great questions and interesting perspectives. Kind of helps keep me young as well. It's not always the classic classroom lecture. I think people appreciate visual and they appreciate hands-on. So for me, Beef Quality Assurance, I try to get the audience to participate. I've so enjoyed being in the cattle business, the whole environment, the lifestyle, the people I get to interact with that are cattle producers it's a wonderful way to live.
We've got a new group of experts joining us now. First, it's an honor to introduce Kurt Pate from Montana, a livestock handling expert who has conducted hundreds, if not thousands, of demonstrations and clinics on stockmanship nationwide. I'm also pleased to be joined by Libby Bigler, Colorado's Beef Quality Assurance Coordinator. And alongside Libby is Dr. Christine Navarre, Louisiana's Beef Quality Assurance Coordinator and an extension veterinarian. Christine, how does the BQA program work to ensure beef safety and quality?
So the way I look at the BQA program is it's really kind of a roadmap or a checklist for stress management. So if you look at each section of the program, we talk about nutrition and nutritional stresses, and we talk about biosecurity and disease stress. And so all of those sections really help us decrease stress in those animals, which ultimately is important for animal well-being. As veterinarians, we have this saying, management over medicine, and so we would much rather, manage those animals properly and have less sickness and less health problems. And that just leads to better health, well-being in those animals, and it also leads to better quality product down the line.
Yeah. So Libby, what are some ways members of the beef industry can get the management skills needed through the BQA trainings?
Yeah, there are a number of ways that producers can go about getting BQA certified. Each state has its own beef quality assurance coordinator that any producer can check with to verify whether there's an in-person training or hands-on training in their state. Some states have different training options where they may have trainers throughout the state that can provide a BQA training. So I would encourage producers to go to bqa.org, look up their states, and then they can find their state beef quality assurance coordinator and go from there in terms of what training options are available. Also, annually, we have a Stockmanship and Stewardship program and Stockmanship and Stewardship clinicians like Kurt who help train on actual hands-on BQA priorities. The general Stockmanship and Stewardship programs are regional, and so you can get a lot of education at one of those events as well as a BQA certification if you look that up on bqa.org as well.
Yeah, a nice double hit, and Kurt, and that really helps cattle producers care for their animals a little bit better, right?
Absolutely. It gives them the guidelines that they need to kind of look for. We start out at a certain point, and hopefully we're bringing the average up, and it makes it much easier for producers to go on and use these practices to improve their safety and their quality.
So Kurt, talking about safety, can the BQA program also help manage the safety of the people who are working those cattle?
When you get better at using different pressures, it creates better pressure for the animals, better pressure from the people, and that creates a situation where the flow is better. And when flow is better, it creates less pushback, less resistance, and then that creates a safer situation for the cattle and for the people.
I think even when you talk about some of the basics of BQA, like we always talk about injection management. If we can train people on the right way is the only way, we're gonna have less people sticking themselves with needles. We're gonna make sure that we have injections delivered appropriately so that we have better efficacy of the product. And I really think that by providing a BQA training, whether it's on animal handling, whether it's on injections or how to give vaccines, I think we're showing our employees that we care, that they know. And so we're empowering them to do the right thing, which I think is good for people all around, particularly when it comes to their safety and them wanting to be a part of the team, a player in the team in the bigger picture.
It translates into food safety also, because when we keep these animals healthy and we have to use less medications, that's less of a risk that we're going to have a residue, needles breaking off, all of those things that are important, again, to the safety of that end product.
So when you look at all that overall, then how does the BQA program serve to really help manage and better the image of beef cattle production?
It's really about continuous improvement, and I think that's what we're always after every day. And so this is not a prescriptive program. It doesn't tell you well, you have to feed cattle this way, because everybody's situation is different across the U.S. But it tells you, okay, yes, nutrition is important, and all these sections are important, and not to forget those. And again, at the end of the day, I think it makes us be better cattlemen, which is good for our reputation.
To build on what Christine said, when you look at the overall mission of the BQA program, it's ultimately to maximize consumer confidence in beef. And so if we can train producers on these foundational principles across the board that are really going to set their cattle up better for the next phase in production, I think we have a better story to tell to our consumers. We can tell them where they're from, how their cattle were raised. We can tell them all of the management practices that we really care about to make sure that the cattle are safe and that their product is safe in the end.
And we've always had producers or handlers we've had like 3 different spots. We have the average, we have some that are not very good, and then you always have a few that are really outstanding stockmen or handlers they take care of their animals very well. What I think BQA has done is it's brought those bottom, the bad handlers, or maybe they're not as the best handlers, we've brought them up a level. We've raised our average a level, and so we give them the tools, and we're able to take that average farther and farther, and it's changing, and we're getting better and better as we go. And that's the great thing I think about BQA is bringing up the whole average, and we're getting a lot of very, very good handlers and producers that are doing things excellent out here. That's the great thing about it.
Thank you all so much for your insights, and we'll have more with you in just a minute. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll dig deeper into the BQA certification process and explain how you can become certified. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
When the field is your office, you never get tired of going to work. Cut, rake, bale, repeat. New Holland offers the power and versatility to get through the day. From small squares to large squares and everything in between, New Holland has you covered. Visit your local dealer today to find out more. New Holland.
Welcome back as we continue our look at the Beef Quality Assurance Program and what it means for the beef industry. Christine, in your state, can you explain how you work with the national BQA program to coordinate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the national program has kind of some overarching materials for us to use as states, and we all try to stick to that and cover those basics. And then as a state coordinator, I get to tailor it a little bit to the type of production we have in Louisiana. And it's a collaboration between the LSU Ag Center, which I work for, Extension Service, the Louisiana Cattlemen's Association, Beef Industry Council, and so all of us come together to produce those programs in our state.
And there's some also in-person events that are pretty fun too, Kurt. I've seen them.
So we go to the Stockmanship and Stewardship regional events, and what I see there is the operation that has 20 head is just important than the ones that have 2,000 or multiple thousands of head. And the thing that we have to have is the BQA coordinators have to be able to accommodate all those different things. So when everybody comes in and works together with large numbers, small numbers, that's when it's really beneficial.
I wanted to put in a pitch for the national program. They do provide a ton of support to all of our states, whether you're in Louisiana or you're in Colorado or you're in Montana. The national program has resources that we can find online, resources that they deliver to us in our states. And even just as an example, in Colorado, I wanted to provide an opportunity to my state trainers, my extension agent trainers, and some bovine veterinarians who can go out and provide BQA trainings for producers across the state, no matter their size. And they really worked with me to put on a really great event in their headquarters office, provide more in-depth coverage of BQA topics so that those trainers had that full scope of education so that they could provide more details to the producers as they're getting them certified in their home counties or wherever throughout the state. So national is a huge resource for all of us throughout the country, and they really help keep our messaging consistent so that it doesn't matter if you're certified in California or if you're certified in Tennessee, a BQA certification is standard no matter where you are in the country. And really that translates really well to our consumers. If they know that we're BQA certified, I think they'll have more confidence in our beef supply and in beef production in general.
Yeah, a lot of people involved in the process. So take us through the certification process.
Yeah, the certification process can vary depending on the state. Like Dr. Navarre said, she can tailor her BQA trainings to how beef is produced there in Louisiana. And for me in Colorado, we have all industry segments here in the state. So I can go one day to a group of cow-calf producers, and I may the next day go out to a feedlot and train feedlot employees on beef quality assurance. But there are a couple of different options. And in-person training is what we really like to promote a lot because it's a good way to get hands-on, in-person kind of one-on-one interaction with folks. And really it's only about, an hour and a half to 2 hours to get through a certification training, take a quick quiz at the end to make sure that you comprehended and took in all the knowledge that we gave you. And then you're certified for a 3-year period. We won't need a recertification until 3 years down the road. The other option is if you don't have the availability to come and do an in-person training, there's online BQA modules that are free all the time. They're at bqa.org, and you can pick those modules that work best for your operation type. So if you run a cow-calf operation, you can take the cow-calf module, and if you have a feedlot, you can take the feedlot module. We also have modules in Spanish as well, so that makes it very accessible to all types of producers across the country.
And that's really so important, as you all have mentioned, size and scope of the beef production in the U.S. Doesn't matter if you're raising 20 head of cattle or 20,000 head of cattle, you're part of the beef supply chain, and BQA certification is an important part. Kurt, you work with a lot of these producers across the U.S. in your cattle handling demonstrations. What's your reaction, and what do you talk to people about when they say, it's too much of a job, I don't want to change the way I handle cattle?
Well, the big problem is a lot of times people think we're taking away their tools. We're saying don't yell, don't do this, don't do that. Well, we can take those away, but we have to replace them with something. And so with the cattle handling being such a big part of this, we have, before when we learned how to work cattle, you just worked around the other people. Nobody really knew how to tell or train or teach. And now with BQA and cattle handling seminars, we are giving the tools where you can replace some of the things that were maybe not as good as we have with just pressure and release of pressure and balance point and flight zones and all those things we talk about. Now we have the tools to replace the things that were causing us some problems. And that's the place to start. And the other thing is we got to understand we have different cultures. We have cowboys, we have farmers, we have different people that have different styles, and we've got to learn how to work with those people where we won't completely turn them off of the subject, get them excited about it, and let them enhance their culture.
Yeah, I know I learn something every time I watch you all work cattle and do these demonstrations, as I do from the BQA trainings. Why do you all believe so strongly in the BQA program? Christine, we'll get your thoughts.
Yeah, it's really the right thing to do. It makes us better cattlemen, and at the end of the day, it makes us more sustainable. It helps us stay in this business and provide a safe and high quality product.
Yeah. Libby, what would you add?
I always like to come back to the fact that it's all about enhancing consumer confidence in our product. And I like to tell producers at a training, if we don't have a consumer who really chooses and prefers to eat and purchase beef, then we're all out of business. And so if we can provide those foundational tools for producers to be transparent with consumers, show them what we do and how we care for cattle, and that everything that we're doing is to make sure that their product is safe and wholesome and healthy, then I think we're going to be in better shape for the sustainability of the industry, for the future generations, and just to make sure that we have a product that people prefer and want to eat.
Kurt, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I see the advancement we've made in the last 15 years that I've been around. In the last 30 years, it went from changing the place that we gave an injection, and now it's all these other things that are involved, and I see the results that's creating. I'm so proud of where everybody's taken this for the last 30 years. I can't wait to see where we are in the next 10 years.
Yeah, a lot of excitement. I'm with you. I can't wait to see where we go from here.
We're going to get so much better.
So much better. Thank you all so much for your time and your expertise and for what you do for our beef producers. As we just discussed, you can get your BQA certification right in your own home through the interactive online classroom. After registering, you'll go through a training module that you can complete at your own pace, and you can also stop and start without losing your progress. So get going and visit bqa.org for all the details. Still ahead, we'll continue our look at the BQA program and dig into some of the feedback that NCBA has received about the program from consumers. Stay with us.
From the very beginning, Ritchie has been dedicated to one thing: helping people deliver fresh, constant water to their animals. Today's Ritchie waterers rely on a valve design that remains much the same as it was in 1921. It's a simple idea: do it right, and the rest will take care of itself. We never set out to create a company that would be around for 100 years. We just wanted to create something great.
Welcome back to Cattlemen, where today we're highlighting the value and importance of the Beef Quality Assurance Program. Joining me now is Josh White, Executive Director of Producer Education and Sustainability for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Also Sarah Reese, NCBA's Senior Executive Director of Brand Marketing. Thank you both for being here with us today. So Josh, why does BQA continue to be a priority for NCBA?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're a proud contractor to the Beef Checkoff, and this program has lived at NCBA for the full 30+ years that BQA has been taken to a national level, and so a lot of pride in that role. You know, it's exciting to continue to develop new resources for producers, but what's even more exciting, as has been mentioned some so far during this program, is that we've taken it all the way to consumers in the last few years. You know, we've really begun to understand the value of BQA through the full supply chain, and as consumers ask more questions about how cattle are raised, that becomes really important. But you know, I tell producers every day it's more important than ever to be BQA certified, because not only does it help you on your farm and ranch, not only do we have great resources available online and with our state trainings and coordinators like you've heard today, but we carry that message all the way to consumers like never before.
Yeah, which is a really huge purpose, especially today. Sarah, in your role, you hear a lot of feedback from beef marketers and consumers that really address why BQA. What do you hear?
Yeah, so we've learned through our consumer marketing research that only a quarter of consumers understand how beef is raised, but yet the majority of consumers are considering how food is raised and grown when they're making purchase decisions. So we know that sharing the Beef Quality Assurance Program is really important. When we share out the messages with consumers, we are learning that it gives them more confidence in how beef is raised. And we actually receive a lot of great feedback from consumers that it increases their confidence, and they're excited to learn that we have this program in place.
Josh, anything to add?
No, yeah, it's been, like I said, it's exciting to see, because I know producers have put in, work to get certified, and to see the value of that magnified is just really exciting. Just a few years ago, if a consumer were to look up BQA, for instance, in a search engine in Google or something like that, they're going to go to our BQA.org website. But today, if they search that, they're going to go to Beef It's What's for Dinner and get messages about BQA that's curated for consumers that they can understand. And if they want to keep clicking enough links, they'll get to our program as well, or scrolling down far enough. But we've really developed some great resources that just tell at a high level what BQA is about, and what producers are doing out there to do a better job.
Yeah. Speaking of great resources, producers who are BQA certified are a great resource for us in the industry, for industry experts, and for each other. How do we utilize those that have been through the program?
On the marketing side, we're working with producers to showcase them through our marketing efforts, as well as our influencer partnerships. A great example of that is our work with Chef's Roll, who's a food media company. Last year, we partnered with them to create a series of 5 videos that showcased beef quality assurance and brought farmers and ranchers together with chefs from across the country. Chefs were able to visit ranches to learn how cattle are cared for, and the producers visited the chefs to see how beef is used in their restaurants.
Yeah, and I've been able to be on a few of those shoots to sort of be behind the scenes, help instill confidence in our producers. And we've been able to leverage BQA award winners and leaders that have had some spokesperson training and are comfortable sharing that message. So I would encourage everyone, if you have a neighbor that's doing a great job with how they raise their cattle and utilizing BQA, or maybe they're just a big advocate for BQA, put them in the application process for our BQA awards, because we really do leverage those award winners all the way, whether it's advertising their great efforts to producers to help inspire other producers to get certified, or taking the message all the way to consumers and influencers.
Yeah, something for everybody in there. Earlier, Kurt Pate mentioned how he's excited to see where we're going to take this in the future. So what does the future of BQA look like in terms of building beef demand?
We know that sustainability is more and more on the top of mind of consumers, but we also know that as a part of sustainability, animal welfare tops the list of their concerns. So as we talk about that more with our consumers, BQA will continue to be an important part of that discussion as we move forward.
Yeah, like Sarah mentioned with some of those statistics earlier, very few consumers now really understand cattle production or how cattle are raised. So when they say sustainability, they mean animal welfare a lot of times, or what we would consider welfare. Are you feeding them the right things to give them a good life? Do they have enough space to move around? Are we just doing the right thing by our cattle? And BQA answers those concerns.
Yeah, now more than ever, it's so important to have this program in place for all aspects of the beef industry. Thank you both for what you do to manage this program and for your time here today.
Thank you.
Still ahead, we look at the impact the BQA program has on the beef supply chain. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we've been looking at the Beef Quality Assurance Program and what it means to the beef industry. Joining me once again is Josh White, NCBA's Executive Director of Producer Education and Sustainability. And we're pleased to welcome Lacey Alexander, Animal Welfare Specialist for Cargill. Lacey, thanks for joining us today. From your perspective, why has Cargill made BQA such a priority?
Cargill cares for the animals in our supply chain. A few examples of this. Cargill has supported for 13 years running the BQA Producer Awards. On top of that, we have been involved in the development of BQA and BQAT. BQAT is BQA Transportation Certification. Furthermore, Cargill has recently gotten word that we, for the 4th year in a row, have won a worldwide status of Tier 2 on an award that measures our on-farm animal welfare. BQA is helping us tell our story, and that story is that the American beef producer uses BQA practices daily on their farms and ranches.
A great partner to have.
Yeah, and speaking of that long partnership, it's one of the great ways we've been able to leverage checkoff dollars and stretch those limited resources even more with great partners like Cargill who step in to sponsor events. They've really helped us roll out that BQA transportation program with even grant dollars all the way down to the state level for state coordinators like we've heard from today that want to add a new training to their regime and add that transportation certification option in person. They've provided funds to help them achieve that. So it's been really cool to watch.
Lacey, you talked earlier about the BQA transportation program. You see cattle haulers bringing trucks in and out of your plants all day long. Why is this important to you?
Listen, we're not hauling distillers. We're not hauling mattresses. We're not hauling watermelon, steel, or lumber. Our cargo lives and breathes. They feel fear, they feel stress, they feel heat, and they feel cold. It is imperative that we understand that the good production practices within BQA and the animal welfare points that we learned in BQA do not stop when the trailer door falls down and closes at the farm level. Transportation is part of the process within BQA, and that process is ensuring that we treat our animals with as much dignity and respect throughout the entire process in order to ensure that we are providing a good product for the end user.
Yeah, I mean, animal welfare, as we talked about with Sarah, is really important to consumers more than anything else in that sustainability discussion. And those trucks are rolling billboards going down the road. So, you know, we've got to keep asking ourselves, are these cattle we're putting on those trailers in good shape? Are they going to make it to that final destination? Whether they're going to a packing plant or to the sale barn, making sure they're fit for transport is very important.
And you know, when you look at the BQA program as a whole, there's principles up and down the supply chain. At the end, how does it really help produce a high quality beef product?
BQA principles help teach producers good production practices, VCPR relationships, good antibiotic use, and good animal welfare. And all of those factors combined will help ensure that we have a safe, quality product to put on the dinner plate of the American consumer.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the packers too that over the years have participated in our national beef quality audit. So just thanks again to Cargill for opening the doors when we need to do the research to really take a look at the industry and say what are the challenges we need to address, and that's really shaped the BQA program over the last 25 to 30 years. So thanks for that too.
And one thing that's really struck me today is that we're really all in this together. It's not the burden of one part of the supply chain. So it really is, again, so important for everyone who's raising beef to become BQA certified.
Yeah, I mean, Cargill hears the supply chain expectations from their customers on what we need to deliver every day. And so hearing that back from them is really important to the program. And you know, there's some things that we can do really easily at different sectors of our industry, but all of us can do our little part as directed by BQA and those guidelines and ensure that we're marketing a great product like we've all said all day.
Josh, you're right. It is absolutely imperative for our industry to quit living in silos and not understanding what happens before us and after us. We are one giant team, and that team is Team Beef. We need to ensure that we are working together to create the best product possible.
Yep, all the way to the consumer.
All the way to the consumer. Thank you both for being here today and for all you do. You can learn more about the Beef Quality Assurance Program, including information on how you can get your certification at the website bqa.org. That wraps up this special edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks to our guests for their insights on the Beef Checkoff funded Beef Quality Assurance Program. And thanks to you watching for getting your BQA certification. We'll see you next time here on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.